Let's go Hitmen here, as they're continuing on down the stretch of the 2019-20 WHL regular season here. I actually say the Calgary Hitmen, they seem to actually have a little more to play for here, even when I get to the stands here. Plus the captain, Mark Kastelic, I'm going to say definitely had a performance of a lifetime up to this point in his hockey journey here. Anyway, stay tuned as it's time for another episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as it's time for another episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 6 here. Here we are, it's season 2, episode number 10 here. As we're going into the stretch drive in the 2019-20 WHL regular season here. As in this episode, I'll be talking about games 49 to 54 here. And keep in mind here, in the CHL network here, and the Western Hockey League, there is a 68 game regular season. So we are going down the stretch here. So there's roughly about a month to go in the regular season here. And I'm going to say there's a 99.99% chance that the Calgary Hitmen will be making the playoffs. And protesters be damned, the Calgary Hitmen Playoff Train, will be going here. So the Calgary Hitmen Playoff Train, it's very, very safe to make plans to board and hopefully maybe we'll have a longer journey this year. But we'll see. So before I get into recapping the games here, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here, just make sure you hit like and subscribe to follow along here, and hit that bell icon to be notified as soon as the Hitmen score a goal. No, I mean, not kidding there. As soon as this Calgary sports fan uploads anything. I also do have my social media links in the description below there to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey here. And the one thing I'm definitely been promoting here is in the next couple of days here, as one of the teams I cover is the Calgary Flames here. I'm going to be releasing my video on Calgary Flames jersey rankings here, and I've definitely been promoting that, and we'll see how that video does. So that's one of the things I do is obviously Calgary sports, but I also do personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I share any other experiences with my smartphone. Let's say I'm at a sporting event, let's say for example capturing moments at a Calgary Hitmen game, or when I'm on holidays there, maybe enjoying my favorite site in the Canadian Rockies, Mount Robson here. So as I said in the opening there, the Calgary Hitmen definitely have been trucking along here, as I expected they would, to pick up some wins given the strength of the schedule here, but there were definitely a few couple tough victories as I'll go over here. But Mark Kastelic, the captain here, I'm going to say up to this point in his hockey journey here, he definitely had a performance of a lifetime there, as I'll get to one of the games there. So if you're an Ottawa Senators fan, that should give you some hope for the future there. Imagine having Mark Kastelic potentially with Brady Tkachuk on the top line there. That'll definitely have some offensive and grit there. So let's get going to recap how the previous 6 games went for the Calgary Hitmen here. So game 49 here, excuse me there, happened on Friday, February the 7th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Prince Albert Raiders. This is the first 3 games on this weekend set here. This one was at the Scotiabank Stadium, 7 p.m. puck drop here. This was wrapping up the wrapping up a 5-game homestand. And I'm going to dare say this could potentially be a potential playoff preview, as I'll share the standing story here. And I'm going to say Calgary started off well by opening up the scoring, as Josh Prokop, he's the forward here, puts the Hitmen up on the board just past the 4-minute mark. And that was opening up. And then Calgary went up 2-0 here, as Riley Fitter-Schultz at the 14-minute mark makes it 2-0 there. And it was 2-0 for the Calgary Hitmen after the first period there. Oh, something's in my throat there, sorry. So to get back at it, it's Josh Prokop who opened up the scoring at the 4-minute mark, and it was Riley Fitter-Schultz that scored at the 14-minute mark. So the Calgary Hitmen had a 2-0 lead after the first period here. It was an evenly played first period here. However, the Prince Albert Raiders definitely got on the board and definitely picked up their play here. As in the second period here, it was Braden Watts for the Prince Albert Raiders, about the 10 and a half minute mark of the second period. And actually got up 2-1 here, and this was the only goal in the second period here. So Calgary still led 2-1 after the second period here, but Prince Albert definitely started outplaying the Calgary Hitmen here. Third period, Prince Albert definitely pressed back and looked for the equalizer, but Braden Peters, the goalie, as we say in hockey, he definitely stood on his head here. Figuratively, maybe he literally stood on his head too, to keep the Calgary Hitmen up 2-1 here. There was actually no scoring to report in this third period here, so I'm going to say the Calgary Hitmen stole this one 2-1 against the Prince Albert Raiders. Prince Albert Raiders, they terribly outshot the Calgary Hitmen 40-28 overall, including 17-6 in the third period there. So definitely was a huge period for Braden Peters for the Calgary Hitmen. And speaking of Braden Peters, he made 39 saves for Calgary. Well, Max Paddock for the Prince Albert Raiders, he had a solid game as he made 26 saves for the Prince Albert Raiders. Also to note here, Carl Olsen finally made his Calgary Hitmen debut, as if you recall last month there. A week before the WHL trade deadline, he was traded for James Malm with the Tri-State Americans. So we finally got Kyle Olsen in the lineup in this game here. So that was game 49 here. So game 50, this happened on Saturday, February 8th. The next night here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Red Deer Rebels at the Western Park Centrium here. Second of 3 games on this weekend set, and should we say this is an easy win for the Calgary Hitmen, as we definitely have distanced ourselves very well by dominating against the Red Deer Rebels. All season here, well, the Red Deer Rebels definitely had different plans in this game here, as they actually set the tone earlier, as in very early, as 46 seconds into the game here, it was Ben King for Red Deer, and so they took an early 1-0 lead here. These early goals seem to be following the Calgary Hitmen here, because if you follow my Calgary Flames in 6 episodes there seems to be always be an early goal either for or against Calgary, and that's lately there. So this seems to be a little bit of a trend with the Hitmen too. It must be a Calgary thing lately here. So getting back on track here, that was actually the only goal to report in this one. So it was 1-0 for Red Deer after the first period here. I should also highlight, before jumping into the second period here, some rough stuff actually to highlight before moving on. Carson Focht for the Calgary Hitmen. He's also a Vancouver Canucks prospect. And Cameron Hausinger engaged in the coincidental ruffling past the 5.5 minute mark, so fairly early in the first period there. And then the Dakota Krebs for the Calgary Hitmen. And Cameron Hausinger again, so he definitely was getting the rough stuff in with the Calgary Hitmen for Red Deer, engaged in the fight past the 8-minute mark here. So there was only one goal here, but there were some fireworks here in the first half of the first period there. Second period, actually there was no scoring to report here. So the Red Deer Rebels still maintain a 1-0 lead here. However, the Calgary Hitmen really outplayed the Red Deer Rebels in this game, just like they have all season here. So this is definitely not looking like the easy cakewalk that it was looking when you look at the strength of the schedule and where the teams are. Despite no scoring, there was definitely a lot more rough stuff to highlight here. Crowder Mitchell, one of the guys that we acquired at the trade deadline for Calgary, and Dallin Malin for Red Deer engaged in the fight there. Dallin Malin was also, in addition, took a charging penalty here. So definitely the Hitmen and the Rebels were definitely not liking each other as much in this game here. Third period, Calgary kept on playing Red Deer, seeking any offense. However, it was the Red Deer Rebels that actually were getting the offense here, because Red Deer got another goal as Dalton Malin, actually after engaged some rough stuff there, scored the go-ahead goal to make it 2-0 for Red Deer past the 7-minute mark of the third period here. And then Red Deer got another goal by Cameron Hausinger. Interesting. Just before the 17-minute mark to make it 3-0 for Red Deer. And this is how this one ended. Red Deer, despite being terribly outplayed, stole this one from the Calgary Hitmen. 3-0 here. And 2 of the 3 goals were scored by guys that are engaging in fights here. That definitely was an interesting note there. So what I meant to say there is that 2 of the 3 goals that the Red Deer Rebels scored in the third period against the Calgary Hitmen Also got underneath the skin and gave some roughness from the Calgary Roughnecks there. Calgary actually outshot Red Deer in this game, 41-18 overall. Calgary outshot Red Deer 16-5 in the second period, and 15-5 in the third period there. Five of those shots resulted in 2 goals here. It was Jack Monotton, who definitely probably was bored in net. He only made 15 saves for Calgary. Well, Ethan Anders, well, he definitely was spectacular. He made 41 saves for the Red Deer Rebels. And sometimes you hear with goalies here that it's sometimes tougher to be in the game where you don't see many shots because you don't see as much action. I suppose the other end there. That's probably what both Jack Monotton and Ethan Anders felt in this game, that Ethan Anders must have definitely gotten in the groove there. So the Red Deer Rebels stole this one. But I felt like we stole that game against the Prince Albert Reavers here. So could there be some equalization there? So that was game 50. So game 51, this happened on Sunday, February the 9th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were back home to take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. I was at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 4 p.m. puck drop there. And if you remember from my Corral series last year, the Lethbridge Hurricanes were the Calgary Wranglers before they moved to Lethbridge there. So it's a tidbit I just want to throw in this season as well. This was the third game in 3 days for the weekend set. Maybe they were saying this couldn't be a potential playoff preview for the Calgary Hitmen. We might draw the Lethbridge Hurricanes again in the first round this season, as when I get to the standing story here. This game definitely had a lot more offense for both sides here compared to the previous 2 games in this weekend set here. However, just like the season series, Lethbridge had the upper hand and opens up the scoring, as is Kalen Addison just past the 9-minute mark. So Lethbridge had a 1-0 lead there. Then Lethbridge adds another one as Oliver Okular makes it 2-0, as Lethbridge had the upper hand in play to start there. However, just before the intermission, it was Jet Wu for Calgary, another Vancouver Canucks prospect, or high-scoring defenseman there. Scored for Calgary on the power play with 11 seconds left in the first period there. So Lethbridge had a 2-1 lead after the first period there. Second period, the Calgary Hitmen did improve their play and had the upper hand in play on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. So the Calgary Hitmen definitely picked up their play there to play up with their opponent there. However, it was Lethbridge that was able to pick up a couple more goals in 2.5-minute stretch here in the second period. First was Alice Cotton, just past the 12-minute mark. And then it was Ty Nash, just past the 14.5-minute mark. So suddenly, in a 2.5-minute stretch there, the Lethbridge Hurricanes expanded their lead to make it 4-1 there. And that's how things stood after the second period, as the Lethbridge Hurricanes, just like they have much of the season here, dominated the Calgary Hitmen. So Lethbridge had a 4-1 lead going into the third period here. Third period, Calgary were able to get rewarded with their better efforts as they continued to outplay the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. Lethbridge first got into some penalty troubles just before the 4.5-minute mark, as both Oliver Okular and Coltrane Wilson took some misconduct penalties here. Then on that power play, Calgary was able to get goals by Carson Focht, who was he's a property of the Vancouver Canucks. His 25th of the season there, just before the 6-minute mark to make it 4-2 there. Then Mark Kastelic, he got his 25th goal at the time here. He's now a Senators prospect here for that draft pick. Just past the 9.5-minute mark, makes it 4-3 for Lethbridge here. So suddenly the Calgary Hitmen were getting back into this one. Then Mark Kastelic again, the captain here, gets his second goal of the game just before the 11.5-minute mark. So now we have a 4-4 game here. Definitely going to have a nice finish here. However, the rally was definitely snuffed out as a fellow Brett Davis for the Lethbridge Hurricanes gives them the lead in at the 13-minute mark here. So just within a minute and a half after the Calgary Hitmen built up the momentum from a 4-1 deficit to a 4-4 tie here. It was Brett Davis for Lethbridge that gives them the lead again. So, and then Calgary was looking for the tying goal again later in the period there and had the extra tackle on the ice when they pulled the goal here. However, it was Zach Stringer for Lethbridge who puts it away in the empty net with 14 seconds to go here. So ultimately, Lethbridge takes this game 6-4 here. However, the Calgary Hitmen, they did play up with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. They also shot the Lethbridge Hurricanes, formerly the Calgary Wranglers, 27-25 here, who led the way for the Calgary Hitmen. So there's definitely a lot more offense, so I can highlight individual performances other than the goalies here. Well, Mark Kastelic, the captain, he led the way with 2 goals here. And Riley Stotts also chipped in with 2 assists there, so definitely our top players, offensive players, chipped in here. Lethbridge was led by Oliver Holokar and Zach Stringer. They each had a goal and assist there. And then Dylan Cousins chipped in with 3 assists there. And Logan Barlick chipped in with 2 assists there. So Lethbridge G players definitely chipped in as well there. It was Braden Peters for Calgary, who was in net, made 19 saves, while Byron Thompson made 33 saves for the Lethbridge Hurricanes there. So it was definitely a tough weekend, I would say. We stole one against Prince Albert. We definitely got the short end of the stick against the Red Deer Rebels. However, we just couldn't close out against the Lethbridge Hurricanes, but when you have to play catch-up, no matter what league you play in, it's tough to play in, no matter if it's a professional hockey league or junior hockey here. But, Game 52, this happened on Wednesday, February the 12th here. Some Wednesday night hockey here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Regina Pats at the Scotiabank Stadium. 7 p.m. puck drop here, and this was the last home game for the Calgary Hitmen before they head on a BC Division road trip here. And did the Calgary Hitmen take advantage of the Regina Pats in the stands here, because the Regina Pats were one of the bottom teams in the league this season? Well, I'm going to say they sure did. As first, Mark Kastelic opens up the scoring 10 seconds in. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead right at the opening faceoff. And then Mark Kastelic again, just after the 3-minute mark. Makes it 2-0 there for Calgary. So Calgary had a 2-0 lead, courtesy of our captain, Mark Kastelic here. I'm going to say here, you'll be hearing a lot of his name in this game recap here. Then, Carl Olsen, who got for James Malcolm, actually he's an Anaheim Duck draft pick, as he was drafted by the Ducks in 2017 there. He scored his first as a Calgary Hitman just before the 8-minute mark. So Calgary had a 3-0 lead 8 minutes into the first period there. Then Mark Kastelic again. I can't throw his hat for the hat trick here, as I don't want to give us his hat, plus there's not much room here. But Mark Kastelic again scores to get the hat trick for his third of the game just before the 9-minute mark. So 9 minutes into the game here, Mark Kastelic already has 3 goals here. So Calgary was up 4-0 here, and they led actually 4-0 after the first period there. Calgary dominated right from the face-off, and they dominated for the entire game here. Then early in the second period, Regina got into some penalty trouble, which Calgary got a 5-on-3 advantage here. Definitely not a good idea, as on the power play, it was Mark Kastelic. Once again, got his 4th goal of the game at the 4.5-minute mark. Makes it 5-0 for Calgary there. And at that goal, that surpassed 30 goals. So that was his 30th goal of the season for Mark Kastelic here. Definitely was an impressive performance from Mark Kastelic here. Spoiler alert, he had 4 goals in this game here. And I actually looked at the record book. Yeah, actually, Pavel Brendel, if you remember him, he definitely was a great Calgary Hitman, but definitely didn't work out in the NHL there. He actually had a 5-goal game for the Calgary Hitmen back in his day there. So Mark Kastelic did not quite tie up with Pavel Brendel there, but 4 goals in a game, that's all right, if you ask me. So getting back in the game here, then past the 8.5-minute mark, it was Dakota Krebs for Calgary and Austin Pratt for Regina there. They engaged in a fight, attempting to get Regina, some life here, showing that they have some heart here. However, that did not work out for them, because Calgary was up 5-0 at this point here, as Calgary continued to fill the net here. Carson Focht got his 26th goal of the season to make it 6-0 for Calgary just before the 14-minute mark. Then Carlson again got his 2nd of the game, makes it 7-0 for Calgary just before the 16-minute mark, and it was 7-0 for Calgary at that point here. Definitely we were taking advantage of the Regina Pats in this one here, or you can say the Calgary Stampeders for leading the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a touchdown here. But in hockey, you can only get the points one at a time here. Regina did get a goal at least at the 18-minute mark, or throwing a football term, a ruse here, as it was called the Biscuit, makes it 7-1 for Calgary. Calgary had a 7-1 lead after the second period there. With all the offense in the first 2 periods here, there was actually only 1 goal to report in the third period here. It was Carson Focht who got his 2nd of the game, 27th of the season, just to make it 8-1 for Calgary, but within the final minute and a half of the third period here. So all the damage was definitely done in the first 2 periods here, as the Calgary Hitmen definitely destroyed the Regina Pats 8-1 here. Like in lopsided games, there's usually some rough stuff that happens late here. Outside the 17:50 mark of the third period here, it was Carl Olsen for Calgary. So definitely Carl Olsen definitely showing his mark for the Calgary Hitmen here, finally getting into the lineup here. And Steve Zonefeld for Regina engaged in the fight there. It was Carl Olsen that took the extra misconduct penalty there. Also, Regina took an ineligible player penalty here to add insult to injury, as it was goaltender Donovan Buskley who was deemed ineligible for the game there, so he was allowed to play. But the Regina Pats had to take a 2-minute penalty there. So yeah, to give you an idea how much the Calgary Hitmen dominated the Regina Pats here, as we outscored them 8-1 here. We also outshot them 38-14 in this one. Calgary was obviously. We were led by our captain, Mark Kastelic, who had 4 goals and 1 assist for 5 points there. So definitely a great game for Mark Kastelic here. Carson, he got 2 goals and 2 assists in this game. And Carson Focht chipped in with 2 goals and assist there. The Procops definitely chipped in here, as Luke Prokop, the forward, had 3 assists there. Josh Prokop, the defenseman, and Orca Weisbud each chipped in with 2 assists there. So just like Oprah here, there was definitely a lot of points and a lot of offense to go around for the Calgary Hitmen here. So now when it comes to the goaltending story here, well, Braden Peters, he had a light night. He only made 13 saves for the Calgary Hitmen. While on the Regina side of the puck, it was Danton Bellick who started in for the Regina. He made 19 saves and 36 shots. And then, as I mentioned, with that ineligible player penalty, it was Donovan Buskley who came in the rest of the way, made 11 saves for Regina after Calgary made it 7-1 there. So definitely was a dominating performance for the Calgary Hitmen here. And I'm going to say up to this point, it's safe to say for Mark Kastelic, I'm going to say he definitely had a game of his life up to this point in his hockey journey there. And I'll try to find that picture and put it on the thumbnail. His picture of holding 4 pucks there. Now that's going to be enshrined in Calgary Hitmen history there for a great individual performance there. So game 53, this happened on Saturday, February the 15th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Prince George Cougars at the CN Centre, 8 p.m. puck drop here. This starts off the BC Division road trip here, and how it works here is that last year the BC Division teams came to Calgary. This year we get to go to the BC Division teams here, while the U.S. Division teams come here this year. Because, there's not as much travel budget here, so you get definitely a lot of dose of Central Division teams, as you see there, and we get to go with both teams with the East Division in the Eastern Conference there. So Prince George is definitely also one of the bottom teams in the standings here. So this is another game where the Calgary Hitmen take advantage of the opponents and get a little closer to clinching the playoff spot to board the Hitmen Playoff Train. I'm going to use it for the purposes of these videos here, as I like that marketing campaign that the Calgary Hitmen used 10 years ago about boarding the Calgary Hitmen Playoff Train here. So I'm just continuing on the legacy of that. Calgary did start off fast again, as Carson Focht got his 28th goal of the season just before the opening minute and a half. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead here, continuing on this early goal trend that seems to be happening with our Calgary hockey teams lately here. Then just before the 7.5 minute mark, Calgary makes it 2-0, as it was Josh Prokop who got his 14th goal of the season. So Calgary had a 2-0 lead after the first period here. Second period, the Calgary Hitmen starts off quickly again with a couple more goals. First is Riley Fitter-Schultz just past the opening minute, and then Adam Kidd, one of their young forwards here, just before the 2-minute mark. So Calgary had a 4-0 lead at this point here early in the second period, all the way up in Prince George there. Prince George did get on the board as Phil Cuffer just before the 6-minute mark, and it made it 4-0 Calgary at that point there. There was no more scoring to report at this point here, so Calgary had a 4-1 lead after the second period here. Then the third period, it was Jet Wu for the Calgary Hitmen, who's a Vancouver Canucks property here. He took 3 penalties on the same play, a double for spearing and 1 for high sticking, so he had a rare 6-minute penalties in the same play there, or on the score sheet there. On that power play, this is as close as Prince George, too many princes here. Prince George got as close to the Calgary Hitmen, got a goal on that power play as Josh Macer, just past the 5-minute mark. So Calgary led 4-2 at this point here. There was no more scoring to report, so Calgary starts off their BC road trip with a 4-2 win here. Calgary did have a slight outshot the Prince George Cougars, 31-28 here. Calgary was led the way by Carson Focht with a goal and assist. Dakota Krebs and Orca Weisbud each chipped in with 2 assists there. When it comes to the goaltending story here, Braden Peters made 26 saves for Calgary, while it was Taylor Gauthier who made 13 saves for Prince George here. And then before Tyler Brennan, because So the coach started for the Prince George Cougars here. It was Todd Brennan that came in after the Calgary Hitmen scored their first goal, and he made 14 saves the rest of the way there. So for the last game of this 16 recap, before I just quickly go over the player stats and the standings here, this game 54 was on Monday, February the 17th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Kelowna Rockets. So they head down south here on Highway 97 to go to the Okanagan here to take on the Kelowna Rockets here at the Prosper Place. 3:05 puck drop here, and to continue on with the BC road trip here, and the Memorial Cup is going to be in Kelowna this year. So first period, there was no score to report here, but both teams looked tentative here, and then things definitely got very interesting here. But before I get to the second and third period here, one thing to highlight here is there was some rough stuff as Orca Weisblad for Calgary and Dylan Hammerlick for Kelowna here engaged in a roughing play. Orca Weisblad also had a check-in from behind penalty there. So that's the only thing to highlight here in the first period there. But the first period definitely did not indicate what kind of game this was. This definitely got interesting for both teams here, as in this one. Second period, things opened up for both sides here. All the offense was concentrated in the second half of the second period here. So if you want goals, you have to come in the second half of this game here. First, early in the second period, though, Orca Weisblad for Calgary and Dylan Hammerlick engaged again into roughing play as they were battling each other again. So definitely some headbutting here. That's what makes hockey great. Kelowna did open up the scoring just past the 10-minute mark as Connor McDonald and Matthew Wedman makes it 2-0 for Kelowna just before the 11.5-minute mark. So we waited till about the midway point of the second period there, and then just like that, Kelowna had 2 goals here. However, Calgary did get on the board past the 14-minute mark as Ryder Schultz for Calgary makes it 2-1 for Kelowna at that point here. However, Kelowna definitely pulled away in the remainder of the second period as they scored 3 more goals in the span of 3-minute frame there. First is Alex Swetenkopf past the 16-minute mark, and then Ethan Ernst a minute later. Then in the final minute, Dylan Hammerlick makes it 5-1 for Kelowna here, and that's how things stood up to the second period here. Kelowna definitely had a 5-1 lead after the second period here. Crazy suggests that the Calgary Hitmen are going to come back and win this one, right? Well, the Calgary Hitmen definitely came back swinging in the third period here, and you know what? Is there a comeback here? We'll find out. First, just before the 4-minute mark, it was Kyle Olsen for the Calgary Hitmen. Scores to make it 5-2 for Kelowna. Then it was Carson Focht who got his 29th goal of the season. On the power play just past the 8.5-minute mark. So Calgary now got the lead for Kelowna to 5-3 here. So I was like, Calgary's making a game of it. Well, Calgary definitely kept pressing and outplaying the Kelowna Rockets. And it brought hopes, maybe they are going to actually make a comeback here. As we're at the 8-minute mark of the third period here, it was 5-3 for Kelowna here. Kelowna had a 5-1 lead going into the third period here. However, Kyle Olsen again scores a second of the game just past the 14-minute mark. So now it's a 5-4 game for Kelowna here. Then Carson Focht, now he also joined the 30-goal club with captain Mark Kastelic here. Also scored the second of his game just before the 18.5-minute mark. So in the final minute of the third period here, we got a 5-5 game here. Some 5-footlongs for 5-5 here. So that definitely made things interesting here. So on the strength of 2 goals by Carson Focht and Kyle Olsen here, this one needed overtime, as I like to say. And just in the third period alone, the Calgary Hitmen definitely came back swinging and fighting here as they outshot the Kelowna Rockets 16-4 in the third period here. So the Calgary Hitmen definitely show some heart and might here to get back in this one from a 5-1 deficit here. So, as I said, this went in overtime. In overtime here, Kelowna did actually have a few chances. However, ultimately, it was Calgary with their only shot in overtime, made it count at the 2:31-minute mark, actually completed the comeback and won this one 6-5 as Josh Prokop scores the 15th of the season there. So Calgary definitely came back from behind and won this game 6-5 here. So definitely was quite an entertaining one. Definitely was a little tough there in the second period there. But the Calgary Hitmen definitely did not give up and won this one 6-5 in overtime here. Calgary also outshot the Kelowna Rockets 38-29 overall, including that 16-4 in the third period here. So actually it was 16-4. Still, I'll give you an idea. That's a 4-to-1 shot ratio there But in overtime there, Kelowna outshot Calgary 3-1 there, but Calgary only needed one shot and it counted. It was behind the net there, and we took this one in Kelowna here. So Calgary was led the way, while it was Carl Olsen with 2 goals and assists, and Carson Focht with 2 goals there. So definitely those are the 2 guys that were the catalyst in making the comeback possible for the Calgary Hitmen. Also, Jet Wu, he chipped in with 3 assists on this one. Kelowna was led by Alex Sletnikoff with the goal and assist. Jake Lee and former Hitman Jonas Petrick, we traded him at the trade deadline, each chipped in with 2 assists there. So when it comes to the goaltending side here, well, it's Braden Peters who made 17 saves and 22 shots here. And then it was Jack Vermaeten who replaced Braden Peters going into the third period. He made 7 saves the rest of the way. While it's Roman Basrin for the Kelowna Rockets, he made 32 saves for there. So where do the Calgary Hitmen stand after 54 games here? Well, the Calgary Hitmen, they have 31 wins, 18 losses, 4 overtime losses, and 1 shootout loss there. It gives them 67 points on the season there. It puts them 4th in the Central Division, and they're in the first Eastern Conference wildcard. Yeah, that's been the spot that we seem to have been cemented in this whole season here. However, let's get to the standing story here, as I'll queue up hitmanhockey.com here on my smartphone. So bear with me there. So let's queue up Hitman Hockey, and let's quickly go over some player stats here, shall we? And tell you who's leading the way here. So when it comes to the leading scorer, it's actually Riley Stotts who is leading the way after 54 games. He has 22 goals, 36 assists for 58 points here. And then there's Mark Kastelic, who's behind here, having 48 games. He was hurt for a portion of the season there. In 48 games, he has 30 goals, 26 assists for 56 points there. Third in scoring is Orko Weisblad. He's in 54 games. He has 16 goals, 33 assists for 49 points there. Carson Focht is 4th in scoring. In 51 games, he has 30 goals, 18 assists for 48 points. And around at the top 5 here is Jet Wu. In 54 games, he has 7 goals, 32 assists for 39 points there. So when it comes to the goaltending here, I would say Braden Peters. Let's bring up all the wins, goals against, shutouts here. So bear with me. They don't show it up right away when I go on the website here. So when it comes to the goaltending here, well, Braden Peters in 28 games played, he has a .254 goals against average, 906 save percentage, so it's just over 900, and he's 14-11-2 here. While Jack Naughton, well, I think Braden Peters definitely has taken over as the starting job here as a rookie here. Jack Naughton, he has a goals against average of 308, 883 save percentage here, but he has a record of 16-6-1 there. But Braden Peters definitely faces the tougher competition as a starting goalie there, so that's the one thing I'll take there. But I think we have solid goaltending for the most part here. So now let's look at the standings here before I get into the looking ahead part here. So let's start out in the Western Conference first here. As in the West Division, the Portland Winterhawks are definitely run away with this one. After 54 games, they have 85 points here. Second place, the Everett Silvertips. After 52 games, they have 76 points. And then round out the top 3 in the West Division, the Spokane Chiefs, after 55 games, have 69 points here. I should note here that Portland Winterhawks and the Everett Silvertips, they do have an X by their names as they have clinched a playoff spot there. So now if we go to the BC division, that's the teams that we're playing right now on this road trip here. The Kamloops Blazers are in first place. After 55 games, they have 74 points, and they have clinched a playoff spot. Second place is the Victoria Royals. After 55 games, they have 64 points. And in third place is the Vancouver Giants. After 54 games, they have 63 points here. So when it comes to the wild card here, the first wild card goes to Kelowna. After 54 games, they have 52 points here. And the second wild card, the last playoff spot in the Western Conference, is the Seattle Thunderbirds. After 54 games, they have 48 points here. And then the one team that's outside looking in is the Prince George Cougars. They have 53 points and 39 points here. And then last place is the Tri-City Americans. They are also formerly as the Calgary Centennials. If you go back to my Corral Series videos, After 53 games, they have 37 points here. So I'm still thinking, very sure, the top 8 in the Western Conference will be likely be the top 8 that's going to play in the playoffs here. So to lament on some potential playoff battles here, the Portland Winterhawks have the top record in the Western Conference here. So they would be taking on the Seattle Thunderbirds. And then the Everett Silvertips will be hosting the Spokane Chiefs in that scenario. So when it comes to the BC division, you have the Kamloops Players hosting the Kelowna Rockets here, an Okanagan battle there. And then you got the two biggest cities in British Columbia, the Victoria Royals hosting the Vancouver Giants there. So definitely some nice regional rivalries here in the Western Conference here. So now if we shift our focus to the Eastern Conference here, where my Calgary Hitmen are. So the Central Division here, the Edmonton Oil Kings lead the way. After 55 games, they have 83 points. They have clinched the playoff spot. The Lethbridge Hurricanes are in second place. After 55 games, they have 75 points. And they've clinched the playoff spot. And in third place, the Medicine Hat Tigers, after 55 games, still have 71 points there. They're not in the playoff spot. Those are the only two teams in the Eastern Conference, as of this recording, have an X by their name as they're being in the playoffs here. So in the East Division, in the Eastern Conference here, the Winnipeg Ice have 55, after 55 games, have 69 points here. The Prince Albert Raiders, after 55 games, have 69 points. So the top 3 in the East Division is definitely a lot closer than the Central Division here. And then rounding up the top 3 is the Brandon Wheat Kings. They have 55 games, they have 65 points here. Now, when it comes to the wild card here, the Calgary Hitmen are in the first wild card after 54 games. They have 67 points here. And then the second wild card, the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference here, goes to the Saskatoon Blades here, as they have 61 points in 55 games here. And then this is where definitely the gap is bigger here, because the next team outside looking in is the Red Deer Rebels here. After 56 games, they have 45 points. So they're still 16 points out of the playoff spot there. That's 8 games, 8 wins there. I think it's really, really safe to say that the top 8 in the Eastern Conference will be the top 8 going into the playoffs there. And then in fourth wild card is the Regina Pats, 53 games. They have 43 points there. They're done. The Moose Jaw Warriors, after 52 games, they have 28 points. They're definitely done. And the Swift Current Broncos, they're definitely in the cellar here. After 53 games, they have 24 points here. So I think to figure it out here, I think the magic number is 3 or 4 points to clinch a playoff spot here, which means either we have to, if we win a game and the Red Deer Rebels lose one more game here, which I'm pretty sure will happen going down the stretch there, the Calgary Hitmen will clinch a playoff spot. I'm definitely not losing sleep on the Calgary Hitmen missing the playoff spot. The only way the Calgary Hitmen won't be in the playoffs this year if they decided to say we're done. So I'm going to say board the Calgary Hitmen playoff train here. So to lament on potential playoff battles here, well, the Edmonton Oil Kings have the top record in the Eastern Conference here. They will be taking on the Saskatoon Blades here, while the Lethbridge Hurricanes will host the Medicine Hat Tigers here for a Crow's Nest battle here, Crow's Nest Highway battle here. So in this case right now, this will definitely be a brutal travel schedule, but the Winnipeg Ice would be hosting the Calgary Hitmen right now in this scenario. And the Winnipeg Ice and the Calgary Hitmen have had some interesting games here. And then the Prince Albert Raiders would be hosting the Brandon Wheat Kings here. So there'll definitely be some long bus trips here if this playoff scenario matches up here. However, the one thing to highlight here is the Calgary Hitmen are actually only 4 points out from being in the top 3 in the Central Division here, as they're only 4 points behind the Medicine Hat Tigers, and we have a game in hand on Medicine Hat here. So I think the Calgary Hitmen may potentially still be having a chance to get in the top 3 here, but I think we're likely we're going to definitely be starting on the road here, and hard to say pick which road do you want to take. Do you want to stay in the Central Division where we've been dominated, or do you want to take on an Eastern Division team with longer bus ride travel there? So it's kind of a choose your own adventure here. There's a challenge either way there, and That's what makes hockey great here. So the last part of this video here, before I wrap it up here, is to look ahead to the next 6 games for the Calgary Hitmen here. And actually the next episode will be my last 6-game recap here. Because how I do it here is there are 68 games in the regular season here, and the next episode will be 55 to 60 there, which will be episode 11 there. There'll be 8 games left in the regular season there, so there'll be 2 4-game recaps after next episode. So episodes 12 and 13 will be 4-game recaps, and then 14 and 15, I'm very, very sure we're going to make the playoffs. Will be my first round series preview and recap there, and then we'll see how that goes, if there will be any more episodes here. For example, last season, there were 17 episodes as we got to the second round there. So looking ahead here, Game 55, this happens on Wednesday, February the 19th, as the Calgary Hitmen will be on the island there, as they'll be taking on the Victoria Royals at the Save On Foods Memorial Arena, 8:05 puck drop here. This is all mountain time, by the way. And then Game 56, this will happen on Friday, February the 21st here. The Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Vancouver Giants here at the Langley Event Center, 8:30 puck drop here. And then on Saturday, February the 22nd here, the Calgary Hitmen wrap up their BC Division road trip here, as they will be taking on the Kamloops Blazers at the Sandman Center there, 8 p.m. puck drop here. And then the Calgary Hitmen will come back home here, as Game 58 will be on Thursday, February the 27th here, a potential first-round matchup. The Calgary Hitmen will be hosting the Winnipeg Ice. That'll be 11 a.m. puck drop era. I think that's the Stop Bullying game, because I was thinking 11 a.m. Thursday. Yeah, I think that's that pink Stop Bullying game there, as they annually have. It's a game for all the school kids to go there, so there's that game. And then Game 59 will be on Friday, February the 28th here, as the Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Brandon Wheat Kings. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop. That's Scotiabank Saddledome here in Game 60. Something special is going to happen here. This will be on Sunday, March the 1st here. Potential playoff preview, first round matchup, as the Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. That'll be a 4 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And what's going to be special with that game here, as the Calgary Hitmen will be honoring Kelly Kissio, the former NHL player. Actually spent some time with the Calgary Hitmen and the Calgary Flames to wrap up his NHL career there. But Kelly Kissio definitely is going to be honored forever Hitman, as he'll have his, name raised to the banner there to be forever Hitman there, as he recognizing his work that he done as a general manager and a head coach there. As under his tutelage there, the Calgary Hitmen went to 2 Memorial Cups there. He was definitely part of the Memorial Cup teams from 1999 and 2010 there, when we won the WHL Championship there. So I'm going to give my congratulations to Kelly Kissio there, and I believe he actually is working in the NHL right now. I think the last I checked, he's actually a scout for the Vegas Golden Knights, and I know on my Facebook groups there, there's I think, I'm not too sure, there was a family member that, I think she's 16 right now, and I think she is related to Kelly Kissio there, so definitely be proud to recognize Kelly Kissio and his contributions to the Calgary Hitmen there, as he's going to be joining the Raptors, while Brad Moran is the only player that has his number 20 retired by the Calgary Hitmen there. And actually Ryan Getzlaff, who's now with the Anaheim Ducks, is a forever Hitman. And Andrew Ladd, who's now with the New York Islanders there, but he also won the Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes there. So Kelly Kissio is definitely going to be up in the Saddledome rafters with some fine company there. Got to recognize his contributions with the Calgary Hitmen there. So anyway, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey here, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders there, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along with that bell icon there. And if you're already subscribed and watching along, I say thanks for watching here. I also do personal vlogs and attempt at comedy there. I also share my experiences on my smartphone, or when I'm on holidays, or at a sporting event, let's say at a Calgary Hitmen game. I don't have plans or tickets to go to that Kelly Kissio game, but if I want to go in, could be an experience that I could share with you guys there. So as I say, let's go Hitmen here, and I'll see you in the next video here, or next episode here, and congratulations to Kelly Kissio, and enjoy your day when you'll be forever enshrined as forever a Hitman in Calgary Hitmen history there. So thank you.